go? Okay, sorry.
Your live streaming is on.
There we are. Yep. All right. Congratulations on making the final round of IPDA. Let's hear some debate.
All right. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm starting my 5 minutes now. So hello everyone, and thank you again for coming here on a Sunday and Mother's Day, no less, to hear us discuss this topic. Going to Mars is overrated, and I stand in firm affirmation of this resolution. And so first, what I'm going to get into is a couple definitions. Going, I'm defining as the act or instance of going to the planet in person or sending remotely controlled objects, and that's landing on the planet or in orbit. Mars is our planet in the solar system, the second smallest in our solar system, and the fourth planet from the sun. Overrated is rated or valued too highly as a top priority. Mars can be number 2 in this case, but not number 1 in top priority. We're going to take this as a fact round, and we're going to use the weighing mechanism of on balance. So judges, if you believe that the affirmative argues their case more or better than the negative or vice versa, then that side respectively wins the debate here today. So I have a couple contentions for you, and the first one is we have focused on Mars too much in the past. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean the fact, according to an Atlantic article in 2021, aside from Earth and the Moon, Mars is the most studied planet or body in the world, in the entire universe from Earth's perspective. This means that we have studied Mars more than any other planet in our solar system, and we are losing out on the opportunities to explore there and to learn from those other planets. We have been there, for example, we have been to Mars collectively as the world 16 times, and 9 of them have been since 2000, but we haven't been to Venus since 1985. So why does this matter? Well, my subpoint underneath the contention is that other planets and moons have other beneficial things to offer, including specifically if we're talking about learning from them. So for example, we're talking about Venus. Heidi Hamel, the planetary astronomer, said that in the 70s, the atmosphere of Venus was discovered presences of chemicals such as sorry if I mispronounce this, chlorofluorocarbons, which were basically chemicals that ate away at Venus's essential atmospheric ozone layer, which protected its planet against harmful UV radiation. Now, these are the same chlorofluorohydrocarbons which we pumped nilly-willy into our atmospheres back in the 90s, and this is why they were outlawed, because of this specific scientific discovery on a different planet that wasn't Mars. And in the 90s, the US Environmental Agency banned the usage of these chemicals. We can learn also not only from this specific instance of Venus, but from climate change, because Venus used to have a hospitable surface that would have been habitable to us, but because of the climate change they experienced and the depletion of their ozone layer, their oceans boiled, and we have Venus as we know it today. We can learn from the climate change there and apply it to our own planet, and we have an opportunity for unique scientific discovery that really hasn't been explored in the past. So we can see that there are other benefits. And if we're talking about the discovery of life, it's not going to be found on Mars. According to the Atlantic article and to several other scientists or people in the field, that we're going to be finding it not on Mars, but on the planets of our solar system, or different planets of our solar system, specifically their moons, Europa of Jupiter, Saturn's Euclidus, and Saturn's Triton, which also has a liquid rain similar to the ones that happen on Earth that fill up the lakes and streams on the moon's surface. And our missions there haven't been as successful or focused on, because even in the past mission that went to Titan, the mission failed because the batteries of the object that landed there only lasted for 72 minutes. So we can see here that this part of the solar system haven't been explored, and that has a vast potential and possibility for scientific discovery there. And if we focus on another subpoint underneath that, is that Mars hasn't been rated the focus of the Mars, or sorry, my sub-contention beneath that is that the United States and other places in the world are focusing away from Mars. According to an NPR poll in 2019, people were more focused on asteroid impacts. And if we want to go even closer, and more recently in February 2021, a Morning Consult poll said that going to Mars was rated last on the list of 10 different space exploration things, which overall were rated 25th out of the 26 priorities for the Biden administration, based on responses from the United States general public. So we can see here that the support for Mars missions isn't widespread. And that's why we shouldn't be focusing on Mars as a top priority. And if we're also going to go on to my third contention, that Mars, while it may be important and may be viable, we need to talk about fixing Earth first. Now, the United Nations said that we have 11 years to fix climate change before the change is irreversible. We should be funneling more money and issue towards larger and more important issues and pressing ones such as climate change. We can also talk about poverty being as more important than going to Mars. According to the World Bank, 120 million people are under the poverty line as a result of COVID-19. We can see that there are instances where there's things more important than the Mars mission. So I urge your vote in affirmation of this resolution. Thank you.
All right, are judges and opponent ready for 2-minute cross-examination?
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. I am going to start my time now. So you, just to go over your definitions real quick, I don't have an issue. I just wanted clarification on the overrated definition.
Yeah.
Can you go over that again?
Yep, so I define overrated as rated or valued too highly as a top priority. So in this case, the affirmative has to argue against Mars being the top priority.
Okay. Just want to make sure no issues there. You also said that Venus is a better option than Mars comparatively, but we don't focus on Venus. Did you give a reason as to why we don't explore Venus?
That wasn't the point I made with that contention. My
All right.
point.
Yeah, that's all I needed to know. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss there was a reason. And then you also talked about we need to focus on Earth because there's issues here. What would happen if we're not able to fix these issues? Like, what's our option after that if we're just not able to?
I'm not sure what issues you're referring to. I mentioned a few.
You talked about like climate change and homelessness being a huge issue that we should be prioritizing over Mars. What happens if we just can't fix these issues?
Well, unfortunately, we're looking at that situation right now. Climate change is affecting people, millions of people today. I mean, if you look at people being displaced by environmental disasters and concerns, according to the World Fund, not the World Fund, but the World Homeless Association, over 200 million people are displaced each year because of climate change related.
Yeah, but long term, like if we think, 50 years down the road, what happens if we can't fix these issues?
Well, if you're talking about climate change, obviously we're going to have major problems with this planet being habitable, which is why it's such a top priority, because there's no way even in that time period we can send all the US or the entire world population to a different planet. It's not feasible and it's not probable.
All right. That is actually time. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I get 6 minutes to speak. And I am going to start my time now. So before I get into my speeches for today, I would like to first thank everyone for being here. Congratulations to my competitor for also making it this far in the tournament. This is a huge accomplishment. You should feel proud of yourself. I would also like to thank our judges for coming in, because without you, we'd just be yelling at each other unproductively. So we really appreciate your involvement here. I'm going to go over some of the points made by the affirmative today before going on to the negative case. So heading straight into the affirmative case today. I don't have any disagreements with definitions or with the weighing mechanism today, so there are no issues. We are all good, which is great because I hate definitional debates. Their first contention was that there's too much of a focus on Mars. However, later on, they bring up the point that the US and many other countries are steering away from Mars. This is directly contradicting. So Mars is too much of a priority, but also not a high priority at all. Due to these reasons alone, I think that contention can be collapsed on itself because of the disagreement on her evidence that she presented today. She also talked about how we need to focus on Venus because of the climate similarities. But we also took a look at, if we don't take a look at climate change now, we could end up like Venus in the future. We don't want to know what, Venus looks like now. We wanted to know what we could have done to help Venus. Unfortunately, if we're just taking a look at their toxic atmosphere and it's irreversible, then that's not going to bring too much of a benefit. And I will get a little bit more into that with my own case here. And then her third contention was we need to focus on Earth. The homelessness argument I don't think is completely topical, since we are talking about space exploration specifically. If she would like to clarify why this is topical, I would really appreciate that, because I'm not seeing the connection between space exploration and homelessness. And then climate change, I am once again going to talk about that a little bit in my own speech. But Yeah, so I'm going to go right into the negative speech today. My first contention is scientific advancement. Scientific advancement. According to Brookings of August 2020, we can gain more insight on the origins of life and what it takes to produce standard life on Mars. I know my opponent has already said that we are not finding the answers that we want on Mars, but we can still have the potential of discovering the microbial life that used to be on Mars and seeing how their life originated and also fizzled out, giving us more insight about the origins in life and how it needs to be sustained. We could apply that directly to our issues with climate change here on Earth too, because we can take a look at what caused their life to keep on going and then eventually disappeared. My second point under this first contention is major space exploration will lead to innovative tech. This is by the same Brookings article cited earlier. We can see that through space programs in the past, such as exploration on Mars or on the moon and other orbital programs, there have been major discoveries such as telecommunications have had severe advancements. We can also see improvements in drone technology and also camera technology. We are seeing these in our everyday lives as well. Without space exploration, we might not have cell phones how we know them today, which is a huge benefit to people living here on Earth. My second contention, Mars is the obvious choice here. Mars is the obvious choice. According to the Atlantic of January 2017, Venus is closer relatively in distance. However, it's less likely to provide new, insightful scientific discovery that we don't already know. Because of its toxic environment, we can't send humans there for the most part unless we really get it into gear. And we, at this point in time, we can only send drones and robotics there because of the toxic atmosphere. Unlike Mars, it has a lot more sustainable of an environment for us to be able to send a human life there and get more of that hands-on experience there. NASA themselves even said that the toxic environment of Venus makes it very unlikely we'll ever be able to send human life there within our lifetime. My third contention, securing a future. Securing a future. According to the United Nations of April 2019, over 1 million species are at risk of extinction, and this is a huge issue when it comes to the issues of environmentalism. We do have an issue with climate change, however, we're not looking for the answers in the right places. According to The Guardian of May 2019, the severe environmental damage of Earth is severely irreversible in some aspects, and we might need a plan B for the future. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to fix every single issue of the environmental issues on Earth, and we need to start looking elsewhere to see what our plan B is. We don't need to prioritize that plan B, but we need to know what's out there and what we can do. And my fourth contention, it's really not overhyped. As my opponent has already mentioned in her speech, a lot of space programs have taken down a priority when it comes to space exploration. They're not prioritizing Mars as they used to. According to a Pew Research study of June of 2020, most Americans want to prioritize Earth over space exploration, meaning Mars is not a priority. NASA is still stuck on the moon, as said on their own mission statements, and in fact, they want to initiate the Artemis program, which is sending more humans to the moon rather than Mars. They do have Mars on their laundry list, but it's not a top priority. And then, of course, if we look at private space exploration, when it comes to SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic, which have all very similar goals, out of these three major space exploration companies, SpaceX is the only one fixated on Mars at the moment. Blue Origin just wants to get to space and see what's out there. And Virgin Galactic has the same sentiment. They just want to get to space to see what is out there. Because of these reasons, I do think that the negation stands more firmly with today's resolution when we consider that overrated as defined by the affirmative also means that it has to be a priority. And I proved that perfectly with my fourth contention here. Due to these reasons today, I urge for a negative ballot on today's debate, and I stand ready for cross-examination.
All right, so I'm going to start my 2 minutes of cross-examination. So just real quick, just for a general thing, can you give me the taglines for your contentions just one more time?
Yep, my first contention is scientific advancement. My second contention is Mars is the obvious choice.
Okay.
My third one is securing a future.
Mm-hmm.
And my fourth one is it's not overhyped or overrated because it's not overhyped.
And you keep mentioning a plan B in your third contention. What is that plan B?
Sorry. I mean, it wasn't a specific plan B, but according to the Guardian article that I did cite, their plan B did include some sort of space exploration. And based off of the evidence presented, the most likely choice would be on Mars.
So to solve climate change, we're going to go explore space.
No, not to fix climate change. As a plan B if it gets too bad.
Oh, so we're going to move into space.
I mean, not necessarily. That's not what I said.
Then
I said the answer might be on Mars, and that's what the evidence is pointing to.
Okay. We have about a minute left. You mentioned why Mars is the obvious choice, and that innovative technologies will happen with space exploration. What makes these, or what's the uniqueness behind your innovative technologies argument?
Innovation technology, well, based off the evidence presented by NASA themselves, they say that it's extremely more likely that we'll get physical contact in humans on Mars and on their physical, like at either orbital or on the soil there. And we can see that there was a lot of scientific advancement once we actually got humans to the moon in comparison to when it was just rovers and orbits. So getting humans there will bring a severe or significant new era of technology.
But the technology doesn't exist yet.
I mean, we don't know what would require. So at the moment, we don't know what we don't know. And that's exactly what they want to find out.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I'm still on the All right, cool. I'm going to begin. So I have 3 minutes. I'm going to jump right into it. Again, thank you everyone for being here today. And so what I'm first going to do is I'm going to be talking about the clearing up of the refutation against my contentions, and then I'm going to be talking about my opponent's contentions. So first of all, the negation said that they had an issue talking or thinking about the first contention about how Mars is too much of a focus, but people don't exactly focus on it. My point with this here was that the fact that it is a priority within a lot of within what's actually happening right now. If you look to NASA, if you look to Elon Musk, there are programs out there that are taking up a lot of money that are going and funneling and focusing on missions to Mars and programs that with Mars as the end goal. When I'm talking about the focus moving away from Mars, I'm talking about public support. So while it's a priority in legislation, while it's a priority for private companies, public support isn't exactly there as with the studies that I brought up. And even if you accept their contention about how it's not overhyped, I've also brought up evidence how there is a high priority for a lot of companies, including NASA, including Elon Musk and SpaceX, which just released the Space Link. For these companies, so even if you accept that contention, it's a wash judge and should flow to the affirmation. We're talking about confusion with the fact of how homelessness and climate change are related to this topic. It's extremely related to this topic. The affirmation resolution we're arguing is going to Mars is overrated. This means that it shouldn't be labeled as the top priority. And there are other priorities for us to deal with, including homelessness, including climate change, including poverty. These are huge issues that are affecting us now and should deserve at least some of the attention. Mars shouldn't be the top priority of not only the US, but also the world. We have pressing issues. As I've stated again with the climate change countdown clock, if we're talking about their third contention, securing the future, plan B isn't going to happen if we all die first. If you're talking to people who live in India, people who live in areas where they do live in poverty, where they do experience climate change on the personal scale, their issue, they're not going to want to be going to Mars right now. They're going to want food. They're going to want water. They're going to want shelter. People want to live safely here, and we can't just become polluting parasites that go through space, going on from planet to planet just because we can, and just because we don't want to fix the issues we create in our home. She talks about scientific advancement, innovative technologies. These same technologies would exist if we go anywhere else in the galaxy. And in fact, even if you like Mars, there are experts such as Amanda Hendricks, senior scientist with Planetary Science, saying that a lunar station is a necessary stepping stone. We should be focusing on smaller goals, such as going to the moon as a kind of practice before we go and try and colonize or have people live on a planet that we cannot reach in time, or that will cost us more money if the mission fails. We're talking about Mars as being the obvious choice. Again, even if you like going to Mars, it shouldn't be the top priority now. We need to focus elsewhere. So when we're talking about the focus being elsewhere, we're talking about going and doing scientific discoveries where we don't have that knowledge. And that includes planets like Venus. That includes moons where there is a higher chance of life, according to experts. So Overall, Judge, I urge your vote in affirmation for these reasons that I have stated. Thank you. Give me a second to mute myself. I gotta move my papers off my computer. I don't have it.
Right, and then my last speech is 5 minutes, and I'm going. Is everyone ready before I get started? Opponent ready? Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure. And I'm starting time now. Since this is my last time speaking today, I would like to once again just congratulate my opponent for also making it this far in the tournament. Huge accomplishment. And once again, thank you for our judges for coming in. The format for my last speech for today is I'm going to just go top down on the affirmatives case before coming back to mine, and then finally going on to some voting issues. So the first thing I would like to talk about on the affirmatives case today is they talked about, once again, their first contention is that there is too much of a focus on Mars. But I brought up contradicting evidence to them that says from NASA themselves that Mars is not that big of a priority. They said that they meant public support is down on Mars, but not these huge companies. But I brought up evidence saying that NASA themselves said that Mars is not as big of a priority to them. And also, most privatized space exploration has the same sentiment. SpaceX at the moment is the only person in their mission statement that states that Mars is a priority for them, meaning that it's really not overhyped and therefore not overrated. They also talked about how we need to focus on these issues or we need to focus on Venus in order to further explore how climate change will affect us and how we can fix these issues. But what happens if we simply can't fix them? We need a plan B, which is exactly what my second contention talked about. Their third contention is we need to focus on Earth because of all these issues. 11 years that they brought up is not a lot of time. And if we can't figure out what to do in those 11 years, then it's game over. There's nothing else for us to do. I'm going to go right over to the negative case now. My first contention is scientific advancement. They said that these same technologies would still be made either way. However, we already saw that through the moon exploration, that the same technology is not required out of different forms of space exploration. Rover technology is going to be a lot different than getting a person to a planet. And that's exactly why we should be focusing on Mars over Venus. Because if we can send humans to these more long distance, that's going to create a new era of space technology that we simply have not tapped into yet. My second contention was Mars is the obvious choice. My opponent said that we should be going to the moon again based off of evidence that they presented and closer space travel. However, this is already the case. We are already seeing that, once again, NASA is focused on the moon still. We already landed on it. Why do we still need to keep on doing it if we want to enter this new age of technology and space exploration? We cannot keep on doing the same thing over and over again in order to get better results. I mean, that's the definition of insanity according to a movie somewhere. My third contention being securing a future. This was largely untapped into, and I would like to just point that out because there was no specific plan B as my opponent wanted you to believe. The plan B was just there has to be something if we cannot fix Earth. And that answer is most likely on Mars, according to that Guardian article that I cited earlier. There is no specific plan B, but there needs to be a plan B in case we can't fix the issues that are here on Earth. And my fourth contention, which was also largely untapped into, was it's not overhyped and therefore not overrated. I brought plenty of evidence showing that most space exploration programs are not fixated on Mars at all. In fact, they just either want to get to space, period, or once again, NASA is still stuck on the moon and wants to keep on landing on it. And finally, going into voting issues. I think at the end of the day, most debates come down to the weighing mechanism, which I have agreed is on balance as per my opponent brought up. I have provided plenty of evidence showing that not only that it's not overrated, but there are plenty of benefits of coming to Mars and allowing space exploration on Mars. My opponent has even contradicted herself when she said that we're focused on Mars, but then said that no one's really that focused on Mars, which is, a huge drop to her case. And I think that should flow over to the negation side today. And that was my only voting issue for today. Judges, at the end of the day, since it is on balance, it is your choice. But however, I think that the negation has still firmly won this debate today. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. 1 second to get situated. All right. Is everyone ready? All right, and starting time Now, so hello and thank you again. And again, congratulations to the negation for again making it this far. And thank you again, judges, for coming here on this Sunday. And jumping right into it, is going to Mars overrated? Just ask Matt Damon. We stand here in firm affirmation of this resolution for several reasons. But first, let me respond to some of the things that were said in the last speech. When we were talking about Mars being a top priority, the affirmation reaffirms that Mars is a top priority, not for the public sphere, which is one of the reasons Mars shouldn't be their top priority for what the legislation and the companies that are actually trying to go there, but for those companies, it is. Again, Elon Musk with SpaceX. If we're talking about NASA, I think I misunderstood that point earlier, but I'll address it now. Mars has been a top priority for NASA for a long time, even back in 2018 when NASA was lacking funds. They continued to ask and open up programs to see how can we still make it to Mars even with this lack of funding. And just in the past year, they said they couldn't make it to the moon by their goal in 2024, and therefore will be focusing on the Mars mission. So that, honestly, Judge, is a wash in that point, and you should stick with the resolution that Mars is, assuming the fact with the resolutional statement that Mars is overrated as it's part of the resolution, and going forth in this argumentation. When we are talking about, if we're talking about voters here today, we're gonna focus this on thematically, we're gonna be focusing on impacts. So the impacts of my third contention, which was talking about we should fix the Earth first. There are other things that are priority. I don't believe that negation addressed this fully. They say that climate change, I think we can both agree that climate change is a huge issue that should be addressed. Again, that 11 countdown clock. The negation wants you to go to space to find the answer for that. But we already know how to fix climate change. You shift to renewables, you reduce your CO2 emissions. The ideas that are necessary and the technology that is necessary is there. The starting place is there, but we need to take those steps. And if we focus on going into space and to space exploration, we're not going to be taking those steps. And we're not going to solve these issues that are pressing and immediate and here and real. We can't waste our lives and waste our money on potentials when we have the ability to fix the problem and we just don't do so. So that's why my third contention is so important. That's why it should be the impacts of this roundup win the case today. Mars is overrated. And we're talking about my my other contentions. I mentioned the fact that the focus on Mars, even if we do decide to go to space, the focus on Mars is way too high. When I brought up that point in the beginning, that Earth and the Moon and Mars are the most of the places that we know most about in the universe, that is a huge issue, especially when we have an entire universe, an entire solar system of planets, which have in the past, as I brought up in the example with Venus, not that we should go there, but we have discoveries on Venus that have helped us combat climate change by showing us what was harmful and what happened to their climate, which was so bad for our own planet. So if we're focusing on impacts here today, Judge, we're focusing on the resolution and what's actually going to be happening. The vote should be for an affirmation of this resolution. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was such a fun round. I always like talking about space.
All right, congratulations again to both of you. It is finals, so you won't be getting any decision from us, but watch at 4 o'clock.
All right, have an awesome day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.